Hey there, and welcome to episode 75 of your Fun and Profitable Online Business. This is the podcast that helps you build a business that feels as good as it looks. I'm Wendy, and I help women entrepreneurs create fun and profitable businesses by reducing friction and simplifying decisions. Now, if you've ever wondered why you can't just make yourself start one of the things you want to do, this episode's for you. Because today we're going to talk about why this isn't a motivation problem. It's actually a starting problem. And the good news, there's a surprisingly simple habit that can make tomorrow's workday feel so much easier before it even begins. All right, let's get to it. Now tell me, have you ever opened your laptop, sat down ready to work, ready to do the thing, and then you checked your email and rearranged your workspace, and then refilled your coffee, and then scrolled on social media, and then looked at your to-do list 3 different times? And somehow, 30 to 40 minutes later, you still haven't done anything to move your business forward. Now, I think one of the hardest parts about this experience is the story that we're telling ourselves. Sometimes business owners tell me that they think they're lazy, or they're undisciplined, or they're distracted, or they think they just need more motivation. But most of the time, none of those things are actually true. What's really happening is their brain is walking into work with too many unanswered questions. Think about how most of us finish our workday. We close our laptop and walk away. And that leaves all the decisions for tomorrow. So tomorrow morning happens, and you're wondering what you should work on first, and you're trying to figure out where you left off. And before you've actually even started working, you've already spent so much mental energy making these seemingly simple choices. But they're not simple. And here's the interesting part. Yesterday afternoon, those decisions would have been easy. They would have been simple because your brain was already warmed up. It was already getting going. You already knew what mattered, and you already understood the context. Decisions are almost always easier after you've already made a few. But when you stop without leaving yourself a starting point, tomorrow becomes completely cold. You're asking your brain to remember where you left off and reevaluate the priorities and make fresh decisions and recreate momentum from scratch. No wonder why some mornings feel hard before you even get started. After enough mornings like that, you'll start creating a story like, I just can't make myself work. And then you'll take it a step further and add, everyone else seems to be so much more disciplined. They're so much better at business than me. I want to challenge that really hard right here and right now. I don't think you have a discipline problem, and I think you're really good at business. I think what you have is a planning problem, because tomorrow's actions are often created by today's decisions. Now, one of my favorite productivity habits takes less than 2 minutes. At the end of every workday, I don't make a giant list. I don't organize my entire week. I just answer one simple question. If I only work for 15 minutes tomorrow, what would I start with? Then I write it down. Now, here's the important part. Be ridiculously specific here. Instead of writing, work on a sales page, I write, rewrite the headline to this sales page. Or instead of record a podcast episode, I write, record episode 75 about getting yourself ready to start. Or even instead of work on my website, I write, update my about page with a story on how I went away for a month and my business didn't fall apart. Notice the difference here? One requires thinking, the other simply requires just starting. Your future self shouldn't have to make another decision. She should only have to take the first step in the process because your brain loves continuing, but it often resists initiating. That's why the first 5 minutes usually feel so much harder than the next 50. Once you started, your brain has context. You're no longer creating from a blank page. You're responding to something that's already in motion, and responding takes far less energy than starting from scratch ever will. If you need another example, let's think of this like pushing a car. The hardest part in that isn't keeping it moving. It's starting to get it to move. It's that first push. And once the car starts rolling, it takes so much less effort to keep it going. Your work's often the same way. The goal isn't to have unlimited motivation. The goal is to make the first push so small that it's harder not to do it. Here's another habit with that I love. Leave a gift to your future self. Leave the document open. Highlight the next sentence you'll write, or leave yourself a sticky note that says exactly where to begin. Every one of those is a gift to tomorrow you, because she doesn't have to wonder what to do. She simply has to keep going. And the easier you make the beginning, the more likely it is that you'll actually begin. Now, I think one of the biggest shifts here is realizing that productivity isn't about having more discipline. It's about creating less friction. We spend so much time trying to become someone who's just naturally motivated, ready to hit the ground running. But maybe you don't need to become a different person. Maybe you just need to make it easier for the person you already are to succeed. Imagine opening your laptop tomorrow, seeing exactly what you're supposed to do, and getting started within a minute or two. No debating with yourself, no wandering from task to task, just starting. And once you're moving, momentum does most of the work for you. You don't have to force it. You simply have to remove enough friction that starting becomes the easiest choice. All right, let's get to your action step for this week. Before you finish your workday today, write down one sentence. Tomorrow, I will begin by, and fill in the blank. That's it. Make it specific enough that you could sit down tomorrow and start without making another decision. Then tomorrow morning, acknowledge there might be temptation to get sidetracked, but do the thing you told yourself to do. Don't ask yourself what you should work on. Simply begin where yesterday you told tomorrow you to begin. It's a tiny habit, but I think you'll be so surprised by how much easier it becomes to get traction. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. Getting yourself to start is usually a planning problem. How you finish today has the hugest impact on how easily tomorrow begins. So instead of trying to wake up feeling wildly motivated to tackle all the things, focus on making tomorrow's first step incredibly obvious. Because sometimes success isn't about doing more. It's about asking your future self to do less. And if you find yourself saying, "This sounds great, Wendy, but I never seem to have the time to actually build these kinds of systems," I'd love to invite you to my free co-working session. They happen most weeks, and it's a relaxed space where we spend focused time doing the things. And it's a perfect place to decide your next best step before you get lost in everything else out there. You can learn more at wendymuzzy.com/CEO. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. And remember, you don't need to become a different entrepreneur. You just need to make it easier for the entrepreneur you are to begin. Until next time, happy building your fun and profitable business.